Welcome into Ride the Line, the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are breaking down the best sports picks that you will ever find, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. Grant, how you doing?
I'm doing very good, Tanner. Doing very good as always, but especially as a Virginia Tech alum, watching what UVA did on the basketball court last night, it was one of the biggest disgraces that I have ever seen. And I got to be honest, it made me feel pretty good about myself and the fact my team is down in the NIT.
So, first of all, Grant, the NIT is the biggest hunk of garbage of it. That the NIT is worse than Virginia last night.
Not arguing. Well, I wouldn't say that because Virginia should not have been in the tournament. They should have been in the NIT. It's wild they got in there. And this isn't coming from a bias or how they play. Just looking at some of the actual numbers, it's still crazy they got in.
First off, the NIT should not feature any Power 6 schools because I don't think there was a Power 6 school that won last night. I think everyone either lost or didn't cover. Like, nobody cared. I lost. Did somebody win?
Tech.
Okay, well, they care, I guess. But everyone else everyone I bet on, which was a Power 6 school, lost last night in the NIT.
Are we calling it the Power 6 now, by the way? Are we officially upgrading from Power 5?
It's Power 6 for basketball because you had the Big East in.
Yeah, but I didn't know if we were I agree. The Big East might be the best conference, but I just didn't know if we were going to change the name.
Yeah, Power 6. I call it for basketball. I'm calling it Power 6, or it's whatever Group A. I don't know, whatever the frick they call it. Don't matter. Anyways, Power 6. Providence. They were terrible last night. Ohio State. Did Ohio State get beat by Cornell last night? I think they did.
I didn't watch that game. I don't know.
Let me see. I was watching. They got beat. They won by 5 against Cornell. What do you freaking do? They were down 40. They were up 6 at the half, and then Cornell outscored them in the second half. None of these major schools care about playing the NIT. That's a separate problem. Virginia, that's the worst basketball program I've ever seen in my life. What they did last night was despicable. You had a second chance. You had life. You got a second chance to go out and play basketball, and you absolutely were terrible. You didn't score for an hour. That was great by TBS or whoever had the True TV had the game last night. It was like first basket since 9:48. I looked at my phone. It was 10:50. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think it was 55 and a half minutes of real time between baskets for them. It was 14 points at halftime, right? 14?
Yeah. They didn't score for the final 9 minutes of the first half. They were so bad. They passed up shots everywhere. I don't know who the kid is, but he just the dribble drive, turn around, fade away jumper like he thinks he's freaking Michael Jordan every time. Colorado State was just playing bully ball last night. They were coming in, enforcing their will on them. I don't know how Virginia won 23 games. And I don't know how they played NC State They were one free throw away from beating NC State in the ACC tournament.
You know what's really weird about them too is Tony Bennett is a great coach, but looking at his resume in the tournament, going back to 2017, lost in the round of 32. The next year, lost in the round of 64. The next year, that was the first time that a number 1 seeded lost in that was when they lost to UMBC by 20 points. They win the national championship the next year. 2020, COVID, no tournament. 2021, lost in the round of 64. Next year, they missed the tournament. Next year, out in the round of 64. This year, out in the first 4. So it's like the worst possible results with a national championship right in the middle of it. It's just a very weird run that Tony Bennett is on.
I don't think he's a good coach. I think he's a terrible coach, honestly.
No, he's a good coach. He's a good coach.
Is he? Because
he is a smart coach who has done well. I think his biggest downfall is he's proving to be very one-dimensional in his approach to the game. He needs a team to play as slow as possible, elite defense, not going to prioritize offense. And when you do that, you put a very hard ceiling on yourself. The reason UVA won that national championship game, well, that was far and away the most talented offensive team he's ever had. So he could probably open up the playbook a little more on that end, but also they could just go out there and get a bucket. And then with his defensive principles and discipline, they were okay. But yeah, I guess I still do view him as a good coach, but I guess the question would be, if somebody can only do one thing, do you consider them good? And at that point, I think that's a fair criticism.
I think he's a terrible coach. I think anyone can win a national championship if you get a good recruiting class. But the sign of a good coach is evolving and seeing that you have an issue in your program, and he has not fixed that. I mean, if you lose in the first round every year to a lower seed and then you do this year, it's like, I don't think you're a good coach. You can win a national championship, great. You had a good recruiting class. It worked out for you. But if you don't adjust to what you're seeing on the court, which is I need to go get some scores in the freaking portal, you got a problem.
Yeah, I understand that. And I agree with it. I think that's definitely valid, especially with, like, again, 14 points and a half. And it's not like, to your point, the NIT, whether or not it's okay for players to just take the night off, and that the fact that they show up and they don't play, it is what it is. To have a chance to win this game, and then you go into the tournament and you'd be playing Texas, I believe. Texas was 500 in the conference. You could win that game. And if you know what, maybe it sparks a run to the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. With all of that at stake, at hand, and then you come out and you lay an egg like that, it's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Colorado was, and this might sound crazy, but I'm not going to sit here and say Colorado State was 100 times better than Virginia. They were a better scoring team, but like they shot 55%. They were 5 of 14 from three. Virginia shot 25%. They were 3 of 17 from three. They got out rebounded by 20. That doesn't have anything to do with talent. That comes down to just effort. They were getting bullied. They had 16 less points in the paint, and they never really had a lead in the game. So it just comes down to you didn't want it as much as they did. I'm not going to sit here and say Colorado State was a million. Colorado State was not good enough to beat them by 25 points last night. Virginia allowed themselves to get beat by 25.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. And that is, it's the first four. You're going to see some games like that. You probably shouldn't, but you are going to see some games like that. We got 2 more of those tonight. I don't know if you're going to be betting on either one of those. But honestly, I'm just waiting for this whole bracket to get started on Thursday. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I probably will play Colorado tonight. I think they're a better team. I think there's some good value there. But overall, like last night left a very sour taste in my mouth. I'm not going to lie. I think I lost every college basketball bet I placed last night between NIT, and I did lose every college basketball bet I placed between NIT and the first 4. Howard, I bet on Howard money line. Again, I didn't know a ton about Howard, right? We hadn't seen
Wagner.
Wagner obviously came through, but Wagner almost blew that game down the stretch. Howard was down like 20 points with like 11 minutes to go. I think it was like 18 with 11 minutes or 16 with 11 minutes. They came all the way back and they lost by 3. And they had 4 3-point attempts or 3 3-point attempts to win the game or tie the game and go to overtime. And you missed all of them. And I think one was a foul. The dude's leg. Did you watch that?
I did, yeah.
Did you see the dude's leg get taken out? It was like a freaking leg sweep and they didn't call a foul on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations late at the end of the game. You don't want to, like, refs should always do the right thing. That's kind of, everybody knows that, but everybody also knows they swallow their whistle at the end of games.
He wasn't going to make 3 free throws anyway, so it doesn't really matter. They don't make free throws. But tonight we have Grambling and Montana State. I don't want anything to do with that game. I think Montana State wins. I don't know if they cover though. And then I would take Colorado. Those would be my first 4 picks.
Yeah, Colorado State and Colorado. I'm with you. Those are the teams I like. I like Colorado to get a win against Boise State. But Tanner, why don't we go ahead and look ahead at the actual bracket? But before we do have an announcement to everybody out there. If you are a supporter of Ride the Line, we're going to be moving the show to its own channel, its own platform, a Ride the Line page. We will provide more information on that when we have it, and we'll let you know when we are making the switch. But just put it out there. Be aware of that. Probably coming in the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, it's going to be less of a betting pick show. There's still going to be betting picks, but there's going to be a lot of sports talk on there, kind of like we're doing now. And we're going to get some clips on social, and it's going to be really good. So we're excited to make that transition over there. But yeah, looking at tomorrow's games, we got some good ones here. Do you want to just go through them? Do we want to give some betting picks in each, Grant? What are you feeling for this right now?
Honestly, I think we just look at some of the big games here, and we can talk about ones that stand out. I think I talked about this in our last show. I'm looking at this Arizona game, and not so much because I'm looking at Long Beach State, but I just have Arizona as a team that I think is on thin ice. And I know a lot of people are high on Arizona, and a lot of people have been high on Arizona like every year for the past decade or so. And I understand why. They're an extremely balanced team, but as I said, Caleb Love, as his name suggests, never met a shot that he did not love. This is a guy that will take 15 threes in a game. We've seen it happen in high pressure moments before, back when he was at UNC. If that shot isn't falling, he's going to continue to put it up. And if he just has a horrible shooting night, that's an easy way for Arizona to lose. So I think that Arizona could be upset early. I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to come against Long Beach State, but I also wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, I think so. Long Beach State is proud. The 15-2, there's been a 15-2 upset each of the past 3 seasons. I don't know if it's going to be Long Beach State. I'm seeing people say it's going to be Iowa State, which I think you're out of your mind for saying that. But again, anyone who says a 15 is going to beat a 2 is probably out of their mind until it happens, sort of thing. I think Arizona will make a little bit of a run in the tournament. I don't think they're that good, especially in the West. I think North Carolina will find a way to win the West as a 1 seed. And then another team that I also like down in the West, I think New Mexico has a chance as a little bit of a underdog, Cinderella, to make a run there. Those would be my 2 teams that I'm really looking at. I think the West is relatively easy. There's an easy path there for North Carolina.
Yeah, I agree. This should absolutely be North Carolina's region. I think it's the easiest region without a doubt. And I like New Mexico a lot. They are an 11 seed and they're favored over the 6 seed against Clemson. That doesn't happen for no reason. Sportsbooks are telling you, hey, New Mexico is a team to keep your eye on. And I agree. I think that they do have the ability to go on a run in this tournament. A team that I'm excited to see how they start the tournament, because I really like how things are setting up for them, BYU over in the East. So I'm with the people that you're against. I don't think Iowa State has a long run in this tournament. They have the best defense in the nation, even better than Houston, according to Ken Palm's adjusted defensive efficiency rankings. But they have a bad offense by elite team standards. It's not a bad offense, but against the top teams, it is. And I think that when the game speeds up, if their defense goes from excellent to even just good, if a team can score on them, then they're going to have trouble matching them shot for shot. And I think that could be an issue. They also shoot below 70% from the free throw line as a team. As we know, free throws are hugely important in March Madness because of all the craziness at the end of the games. And you know what? Even if if Iowa State holds up and they move on to face BYU, I think BYU can knock them out in the second. It's either the second or the third round. I forget which one. Because these teams have played twice this season. They split them. BYU beat them by 15 in one of those games. But I kind of did this in a very roundabout way. The team I want to watch is BYU. They're getting maybe the easiest 6-11 matchup on the board. They're taking on Duquesne. Duquesne is absolutely horrendous. They got in because they won their conference tournament, and more power to them, but they are an awful basketball team. I think BYU starts this tournament with like a 30-point win. And once they pick up that type of momentum, again, if they face Iowa State, cool. If not, if they avoid them, then it's just a very easy run for these guys, probably all the way up to the Elite Eight.
I don't know, Grant. You got Illinois. So the BYU get Illinois in the second round.
In the second round?
Yeah, so it goes BYU, Illinois will play in the second round. Then the Sweet 16 matchup would be BYU, Illinois, or Iowa State, one of those teams. Iowa State wouldn't play Illinois till the Sweet 16.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Yeah, I did totally forget about Illinois. Yeah, that would be their hardest matchup. And then the way I have my bracket going, I would have them out in the Elite Eight to the winner of UConn and Auburn.
So BYU is 11th in offense, 50th in defense. I mean, I think it all comes down to if teams can make shots. Like Iowa State's not a terrible offense. It's not like a Virginia style offense. They're still very good, obviously, and they're playing really good basketball right now. I think Illinois ultimately gets the best of BYU. That's just my take there. I think they're a better offensive team when it comes down to it, and neither team is great on the defensive side of the ball. BYU is definitely a little better there, but when it comes down to it, which team's going to make shots that night, I think it would be Illinois. I ultimately have Illinois facing Iowa State, and I know that's a little bit of a square play in the Sweet 16, but I think one of those teams will face the winner of UConn and Auburn. I'm seeing a lot of people, and I don't think this game's tomorrow, but I'm seeing a lot of people say that Yale could beat Auburn, which is kind of wild to me. I don't know if you have a take on that one.
My take is I picked Auburn to win it all. So I do not have them losing in the first round. Our friend, I don't know if you saw this, Tanner, our friend Greg Peterson, he has Auburn beating UConn and going to the national championship game as well. And normally he's a pretty reliable guy, a pretty trustworthy guy. So yeah, I'm with you that I've seen a lot of people saying Yale can beat Auburn because I do think Yale is one of the better, higher seeded underdogs. But with that being said, I just don't think that that's the matchup that you're going to see a huge upset in.
If Auburn beats UConn, they probably do go all the way to the national championship game, but you got to get through UConn.
Whichever one of those teams wins that game has to go to the national championship, probably wins it all.
Yeah, I agree. That's going to be a great game. I hope we do get it. And we're going to find it. Again, this tournament is all about finding out how good UConn is. Like UConn has to go through the absolute ringer to get there, but they can do it. They're that talented of a basketball team, and they could easily lose to Auburn in the Sweet 16 as well. But, there's a reason UConn's plus 100 right now to win the East and Auburn's plus 490. I think UConn's a better team, but we're going to find out how good they are too, because Auburn's a different level than probably what they've even seen in the Big East.
I do have one more big upset that I want to pose to you. Actually, I've got two, I guess. One probably shouldn't be that big of an upset. It's Samford against Kansas. Kevin McCullough Jr., Kansas's leading scorer, out for the tournament. Hunter Dickinson was injured. He could play, but if he does, he's not going to be 100%, and there's a very good chance that he doesn't play. At that point, you've taken a Kansas team that's lost 4 of its last 5, taken out their 2 best players, and that changes not only their talent, obviously, but the whole way they play, their whole style, and that's just not a good matchup. Samford shoots better than 39% from 3. I think they were 29, 28, and 5, something like that in the regular season. I just don't see that going well for Kansas. Like that's the wrong situation to be in at the wrong time. The one that I wanted to get your opinion on, though, is actually McNeese against Gonzaga. McNeese faced a high school level difficulty schedule, but they shoot the ball really well. They can score a whole bunch of points. And the big thing for me is they went 30-3 this season. I know they didn't play tough teams, but if you look back at FAU last year, kind of a similar situation. They went 31-3. It was tied with Houston for the best record in the country. Didn't play a bunch of tough teams, but they just developed so much momentum and confidence in winning habits that they carried it into the tournament and they went to the Final Four. I'm not saying McNeese goes to the Final Four, but I'm saying, hey, they might be able to beat Gonzaga.
Yes, no, I think Gonzaga's going to beat them in the first round. I think it'll be tight, but when you look at Gonzaga's track record, they've been to the Sweet 16 for the past 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23.
Those teams were all much more talented than this Gonzaga team, though.
I know, but good teams know how to win. Good programs know how to win. And I'm not saying they win it all, but they know how to win.
Yeah, so, I mean, that is fair enough.
Experience matters.
This is the thing with March Madness. Like, you have to pick a lot of upsets, and they are upsets for a reason. So at times it can look a little ridiculous, or it can be a little difficult to try to explain your rationale. But again, like, unpredictable things just happen sometimes, you know?
You have to pick upsets, but I do think this year more than any year that I've seen in the past, I could easily see UConn getting there, Houston getting there, Purdue or Tennessee getting there, and then North Carolina getting there. It's probably not going to happen, but the way the bracket comes out, if UConn can get through the East, I see Houston could roll their side. North Carolina shouldn't have that much trouble, I don't think, unless it's Arizona. And then Purdue's got a very easy path to the Final Four. So this year, more than any, I could see the top dogs being there at the end.
Do you have any other big games on Thursday that are sticking out to you?
Not too many here. More games that I just want to watch. Like, I obviously want to watch Illinois because they're in the East. Texas against Colorado State. That's probably a good one to take Colorado State in. I think they're going to be better than Texas there. The over in the Oakland, Kentucky game on Thursday is one that I'm looking at as well at 162.5. Kentucky plays absolutely no defense. Oakland's a very slower paced team, but Kentucky plays no defense, and they're going to score not 100 themselves. So I could see that one getting over there. But there's going to be some good games. I'm excited. That's a lot of double-digit spreads here, but on Friday, I think that's when we're going to get some better, more competitive matchups.
Yeah, I do like that Kentucky over, by the way. I might have to steal that one. But yeah, we do have a lot of Friday matchups as well. And guys, we're not neglecting them. We are going to be back on Friday, and we're going to be talking about those and probably some reactions to what we saw on Thursday as well.
Definitely. Well, Grant, got a big day ahead, big couple days. Why don't you take us out of here?
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that subscribe button right down there below the video. Like the video if you did enjoy. Comment, let Tanner and I know what you think of our picks, who you're looking at on Thursday. And we will catch you all on Friday in the next episode of Ride the Line.